Okay, here's a quick guide for how to install the new maps that I've made. So first you go to saveee.com, EE General Discussion. Here's the random map script pack for EE. And you just click on this, open file here, and so this will be in downloads. You can then just extract everything. So this will be extracted to this same folder. When that is done, you then go in here. There are instructions that you could read, which will tell you where to go. So if you have installed Empire Earth through the community setup, it will be here. So you take all of this, copy it, and then you go to where you've installed your Empire Earth. So if you want it on Out of Conquest as well, I can show you that after. But first, let's just do Empire Earth, the original. So EE, then data, then random map scripts, and then so this is how it should look before you install these new maps. These are the maps you get from the Neo EE patch and the original maps. You just paste here. Now, this will add some new files in the comment, so everything is now done. Even though that already existed, it would add some new files here, so you're not going to get a prompt that overrides what you already had. And now it should work. It's important in the instructions here, you can see what is included. And this one is really important to read because if you want to play on these new maps online, every single person in that room needs to have done what I just did here, copy paste all of it. And we can do the same thing again for Art of Conquest. So go in here, copy, go to the Art of Conquest where you install that. Same thing here, data, random map scripts, and I've already pasted here. But you would just do the same thing, copy, paste, and now it's done. I'm now going to do a quick presentation of the new maps, but before I do, I just wanted to tackle some confusion. Some people think that if you install these new maps, it's going to change your game files or change your game variant, so you're not going to be able to play with other people if they don't have the new maps. That's not true. You can still play the original maps like before, and yeah, so nothing should change. The maps that I'm mostly going to focus on are the original maps that I altered a little bit. So Neo Plains is a new plains map that I hope will improve your experience playing the game. Hopefully you'll like this more than the original. The changes that were made to the Neo Plains is one, you'll never get winter maps. So it will only be either grass or desert like here, or sorry, like here. I also, let me look at the notes. I altered the elevation, so you don't have as much hills. And that is, like most of the time, normal plains is fine. If we compare here. But I think, like sometimes, like this map is kind of annoying. This is normal plains, because you can have these huge hills. And again, you can still play on normal plains if you want these kinds of maps, if you like this better. But I think especially for like tournaments and stuff, where more competitive game style, uh, I think these maps, to me, makes the game less fun. With the hills like this. Of course, that's not always the case. So this is also normal plains, and here is more fine. But what I did with Neo plains is that you get less hills. And this is not only applicable here, but if we go to, how does this thing work? If we go to 8 players, if you're playing a large game on normal planes, sometimes you get these like huge hills between players, which I find, again, I don't like this. Some people do, these enormous hills here. But so now you have the option. You can use Neo planes, and you're not going to get those massive mountains anymore, even in Lodge. Lodge is particularly popular on AOC, but I think part of the reason why we don't like to play Lodge on EEC is because of those massive hills. Now it's more open and more, to me, this is more like a plains map. Whereas if you want to, you can play Highlands. You could get those massive hills if you want to play that kind of way. I was supposed to change the plains maps in small 1v1 to get one more stone mine, but apparently I forgot or I uploaded the wrong save file or something, so that didn't happen. So you're still gonna have, even though in some of the posts that I've made, I've talked about that I added one more neutral stone to 1v1 plains. That didn't happen. So if that's something people actually wanted, that was just something I thought of as kind of annoying when you play. You can get, it would be more fair to have one more stone, but that might be added later if people want it. Another change that I made, a change that I actually made for planes is I made the uh, metal, so iron and gold mines a little bit more fair in tiny maps. Also, there's less hills in tiny, so the less hills in all of the sizes for the neoplanes. So this is a normal planes map, and you can see here. So if you're playing Grand War, for example, you would have one iron here against your opponent that has also 2 irons, but on their side of the map they have 2 other irons, which is difficult for blue to get here, right? Do the same thing again. Here is a more evenly distributed iron mines. So you have 3 irons on this side, and then you have 3 irons on this side, which would be more fair if you're playing Grand War. And you also have these hills. This is a normal plains map again. Whereas in the neoplanes, there's less hills, and you always have, well, I say always, but it's still, again, still random map scripts. So sometimes you get screwed, but you should, most of the time, very, very commonly, you should have 3 mines each. Much more common here, 3 mines each. I didn't make any other changes to plains, so because I think plains is really popular map. Generally speaking, it's really good. So hopefully these small changes will, again, improve your experience a little bit. The next map that I'll talk about is Mediterranean. So Mediterranean is played mostly in 4v4 pre-nano. So let's just go add 8 players here. And so this is a normal Medit map. Here, the changes that I made was that I tried to more fairly distribute the mines again. There's still neutral mines. Let me see at the notes here. So what the changes that I made was I made 3 iron gold per player and 2 neutral gold iron. Compared to in the original, there's 2 gold iron per player and 10 neutral in 4v4 Lodge. So here, this player has 4 irons kind of close, here, and those 2, which are the player irons, and then you have neutral iron here, you also have another one here. Of course, that's already 3 of the 10. So blue in this game is lucky when it comes to iron mines, whereas cyan here only has 2 gold iron. I mean, two iron mines. 2 gold here, and you can say that he has this one as well for gold. So he's more unlucky. So I wanted to make it more fair for the mine distribution. Another change that I made, again by popular demand, is Neverwinter, and I also made it less hills. So here you can see there's hills here. These hills make it more likely for you to have a choke map. So you just make one tower and you're safe. I also changed from right now in the original Mediterranean for 4v4 Lodge, you have a 70% land and then 30% water. And then I changed it to 72% land and 28% water, which again should make it more open and you'll get more action. So because it's there was basically two reasons why I changed the mines. One, I wanted it to be more fair, generally speaking, but also when you make the map more open, having the mines closer to your bases makes it also slightly easier to defend the mines. So even though the map is more open, I think there will be more action in normal. I mean in Neo Mediterranean. Um, it will also be easier to defend your mine. So I don't know yet if that's going to change the meta. If it will be more common to play pocket clubs, we don't really know that yet. So if I just show you a couple of examples of normal Mediterranean here. So sometimes it's very easy to defend, and that will still be the case for Neo Mediterranean. I didn't want to radically change the maps, but it should be more open in the other map that I made, the new map that I made. Here it's very easy to defend as blue. Another change that I made, I'll show you Neo Medit soon. Another change that I made was I made the hunt more fair as well. So here, what the script is supposed to give you, again, it's random map script, so sometimes it fails, and sometimes you don't get what you're supposed to, and sometimes you're really lucky, you get more than what you were basically supposed to in the script get. Uh, what the script is supposed to give you is 2 random herds like this. But sometimes you don't get 2 herds, and sometimes you get more. So you see here, this player has 3 hunt, this player has 2 random herds, this player has 2 random herds, this player has 2 random herds, 2 again, 2 again. Okay, so it looks like in this map everybody got the herds, whereas in this map blue only got 2 goats, whereas his opponent would be here getting 2 deer and 2 walrus. So again, to make it more fair, because like sometimes in Medit, normal Medit, you get no hunt at all, which is such a massive blow really to your early game that some people just want to give up when they see they have no hunt. So the change that I made to for hunt in Neo Mediterranean is that instead of getting 2 random herds, the script is supposed to give you 1 random herd and 2 goats. So, and I made these goats they're much more reliable this way. So this player in this game got a random herd of ostrich and the 2 goats. So now you're almost never going to get 0 hunt. Sometimes you'll only get 1 goat. I think it happened 1 in 200 when I did a sample size, where I just did this and then checked every single map 200 times. took some time, but so here, as you see, it's a lot more. The hunt is more fair. Also, you see the iron and gold is closer to your base. This means, so one thing that I think it was Fachuli that mentioned, that you get a lot more doubles, which is true because they're closer to your base. So you're gonna get more. Here's a double. Here's also kind of a double. This guy gets a really good map. Go into here. You can have basically a triple here. This is also a triple. So that's more common here. So again, we'll have to figure out whether all of the changes that I made to the new Neo Mediterranean map, if that's popular. I could, of course, change other things. I could go back on the metal and keep the less hills, for example, and slightly less water. because you can see here the maps are a lot more open. It's harder, like blue here against dark. Um, Blue here against dark red would have such an open map. A lot of action here. It's still, again, still a random map script. Sometimes you get one ways. That happens. This could have been a one way. But that's, I didn't want to change too much, make it radically different. Hopefully this is similar enough that it becomes popular and also makes us perform, or basically when we start a game, we have less rematches and stuff like this because people are not happy with their maps. Yeah, so I think those are the changes to Mediterranean. Of course, these changes are also made to all of the sizes. So if you go to like a medium, see here, 6-player, so 3v3, there will also be less mountains, and you'll have the same hunt that I talked about, and there will be more fair mines. For some reason, 3v3 maps for Empire Earth is a lot more. Normally, they're not a lot more unreliable. So one reason why a lot of people don't just in Pretenano, they never play 3v3 is because it was a lot more common for you to get zero hunt. So they didn't want to play it because it's more unfair. Now it should be more fair for the hunt. Also more open. It's even though some people ask the sea is smaller, you should get the same amount of fish still. So that should not change. Of course, when the sea is smaller, hurricanes are more effective. So again, it could change the meta a little bit here. We'll see. But I think this is kind of a good middle ground of not making it completely open every time. Sometimes you get jokes, and still, hopefully, oh well, based on my testing, there's a lot less one ways and there's a lot less choky maps. So hopefully, again, this will be better for the Pretenano players. The next map. So again, Pretenano is often played when it's 1v1 or 2v2. It's often played in Conti. I'm going to show you. Start with 1v1 here. Small. So this is a normal plains map. I mean a normal continental map. And here, as you can see, there's supposed to be 7 gold, 7 iron, based on the script. I don't know if you have 7 irons in this map, actually. It looks like there's only 6. Looking quickly here. And that, again, that's the new maps are also random, so sometimes you don't get all the mines you're supposed to. But here, arguably you could say that blue gets slightly better irons because yes, his third iron is closer, whereas red's third iron is all the way over here. You can almost argue it's equally the distance to blue. And in normal normal continental, sometimes because you get the script's supposed to give you 2 gold, 2 iron per player, and then the rest are neutral. Sometimes you only get 2 irons, and the other player gets 4 or 5, which to me sucks very hard. Like Pretenano, if you play 1v1 against a competent player, even with just 2 mines, they can defend all at least until copper. So like sometimes I would get just 2 iron mines and I would try my best to win the game, but it's like such an uphill battle because my opponent has way more. So I needed capitals pop to 50, and my opponent just had settlements on his iron mines, and he still had more iron than me. I don't like that. Again, if you want to play normal continental, you can continue to play normal continental. But a change that I wanted to make was I essentially added 1 more gold and 1 more iron to both 1v1 and to when you play 2v2. I also made a slight alteration to very slight from 6 in the how high the hills can be to 4. So you will have slightly in Neo Continental, you will have slightly less hills on average. Again, sometimes you get big hills, but on average you will have slightly less. So here, on this side of the map, there's 4 iron mines. On this side of the map, there's 4 iron mines. This one is, again, it's still random. So in this, you could argue for the iron mines, it's a little bit more unfair for red here. Of course, if he's able to secure this iron mine, he also gets this forage and this hunt, so not too bad. But and also it's slightly more open, so I think there should be more action in if you play on Neo Continental, if that's again that's what you desire. Um, but Continental to me is such a good map compared to like I found more flaws in normal planes than I did in Continental. So Neo Continental I did very few changes. The next or the last original map that I altered slightly, which I think will be popular in online play, is large islands. So normal large islands, when it's played, just to go a 4v4 game here, looks like this. And the only change I made to the Neo large islands is that I altered how far the resources can spawn next to the shore. Um, so here they're close to the shore, you can get close mines. So if this was a 4v4, top bottom, will be blue against red here. And as blue, I'm going to have an easier time picking off with my artillery, picking off attacking this mine. And basically, it's very hard for red to do the same to me. So what usually happens in online games is that you will find teams and then you will start the game and then people will pause immediately to just look at the map to see, is this a map you actually want to play? And very often people would discuss like, is this close enough to the shore that you can ask for a rematch or not? So what I did with the Neo Large Islands, again, is I altered so you'll have resources slightly further away from the shore. And again, that's the only change I made. So now you should almost never ask for re, in my opinion. Hopefully that solves this issue. One thing that happens when you have slightly less resources, slightly bigger gap here, is you will have slightly less trees. Uh, so that's an issue that could be in these maps. But I think this is going to be enough anyway. It's very slight. Like sometimes you might think, well, in this is totally screwed because of the new map. Actually, I think in this map you would get very little anyway on normal planes, normal Mediterranean. Sorry, I keep saying planes. But yeah, so that was a very small change. Again, I think this map is pretty good, so I didn't want to change too much. I'll also talk a little bit about the special maps that I added to this map pack. These maps are not really, I don't think they will be used instead of the other maps, the original maps. Like to me, I think it's very possible that the Neo Mediterranean, for example, will be used instead of normal Mediterranean. These special maps, I think, are more if you play a lot of mid SH with planes map, and now you want to mix it up a little bit. You could try one of these other maps, these special maps. I think all of these special maps will be fun to play in most settings. Probably not pre-nano, but everything else. Uh, so there's 4 maps that basically are based off real maps or normal maps with water. So you have dry terranean, dry tenental, large oases, and small oases. So dry terranean is based on the Mediterranean map, but I took away the water. So if you load this map, you will have a map you can play, very flat map, where you spawn far away from your opponent, usually, and you have fairly easily access to 3 gold, 3 iron. So in my opinion, I think this is a fairly defensive map because you spawn far away. And it's not that easy to enter into your base. Like if you wall here, it's fairly easy to defend this, I think. And this map, of course, these maps work for 3v3, 4v4, anything. Another map that I made is Dry Tenento. So Dry and Continental play on words there, like Dry Terranean. Here, same as Continental, but instead of having water around the map, you have flat lands. And this, as opposed to the Dry Terranean, where you spawn further away from your opponent, here you will spawn closer to your opponent, more in the middle of the map. So this, I think, will be a really good rush map. And I think it's very hard to defend this particular map. So if you like a lot of action, I think this could be a lot of fun. Very easy to enter. You could go through the middle usually, but also you can go from both sides. It's open here. And then you have large oases. Again, since it's an island map, you will kind of spawn. Usually will spawn far away from your opponent. And here, there's only 3 gold, 3 iron on your map, and there's nothing in the middle here. So usually this would be, if you just go to large islands, kind of like this, but you will have water. So here, in large oases, it would be water here normally, but instead you have flat lands basically. Then this again, I think is fairly defensive. Could be fun to play, I don't know. Very, very open also. Uh, so that's an option. An option I think would be a lot more fun. I believe mostly in this one, out of the dry maps, I think this one is my favorite. So it's the same as small islands, except for there's no water again. And I added these woods here. And the reason for that is if we just go to normal small islands, small map 1v1, might have to do this a couple of times. Oh, there was actually a click too fast there. Because sometimes in this map you get almost no wood, like you see here, which is terrible. So what I did in small oases is that I added these woods here, which should be enough. So it's 500 per tree and you have 21 trees. They're also, like I did here, so you can, there's 3 trees and 1 tile. They're stacked up on top of each other. The way that works in the game is if you put, let's say you put 4 citizens on this tree right here, they will cut that tree until it's finished. So they'll cut it until you have gathered 500 wood. And then there will only be 2 trees here. But instead of them continuing to work on one of the trees that's underneath the stack, they will move to another one. Other than that, they will work like normal, so you're not going to have idle citizens or anything like that. They should work like normal. So I thought that this was a good way to deal with, in case you get no wood, at least. So that would normally be a very open map, and that's part of the randomness of these. I think that was kind of cool. Sometimes you get a really open map, but this should be enough, and it don't take a lot of space. Enough wood, it don't take a lot of space. So I like this a lot. Here, sometimes there is one kind of island in the middle, or oasis in the middle. Sometimes there's 2. Here there's 2 islands basically. So you start with, in your base, you start with only 2 iron and 2 gold. Normally, of course, sometimes you get less because it's a random map script. And then if you want more, you then need to go into the middle to try to get it. So I think, like, I personally think this would be a lot of fun in, especially in Liga. Very, very open, and you need to fight for more than 2. You're never getting more than 2 in your base, so you need to move out into the map to get more. So I like this a lot. I made some variations on the Neoplanes map. So the Neo Savannah map is basically the same as Neoplanes, except here you will have more hunt than usual. You get 5 when there's hunt. Also, you start with 2 houses. So you start with 2 morale. So this is a more defensive map, I think, even though it's the same as Neoplanes in terms of the the woods and the mountains and stuff like this, you'll have more morale and more hunt. And then you have do plains, which is a play on words here again, like the dry maps. So do for play on the word duplex and do plains. That's where you get, I mean, duplex and plains, so do plains. And here you have two capitals. So this, in my opinion, again, this is the same as same as Neo plains, but you have two capitals. And I think this radically changes the way to play. So if you're playing Liga again, I think you will have very, very different strategies when you start with two capitals. Even though they're spawned on top of each other like this, they both work. In Death Gulch, maybe not everybody has played this map, but this, oh, you don't always get more. Is that in different starting epoch? Let's see here. Okay, so here we get a barracks. So these, it looks like you have one capital, one barracks, and one siege factory, but in fact you have two of each. They're spawned on top of each other like that. So they both work, and I was thinking about maybe doing for Duplanes, doing the same, but I decided to go to make it more obvious that you actually have two capitals. So you see it immediately, like, oh, I have two capitals. Both of them work even though they're on top of each other, so you can produce two citizens at once. And so there are two reasons why I wanted to make it more obvious. First is when it's for beginners, you start this for the first time, you see it immediately. Compared to Death Gulch, where you actually have to figure it out on your own. But also, I've created this special random map script. And this 1v1 map pool will choose between different maps randomly. So there's 9 slots available in this the template that I used. And I put 2, so there's 2 in 9 chance of getting Neo Plains, 2 in 9 chance of getting Neo Continental, 1 in 9 chance of getting Neo Savannah, 1 in 9 chance of getting Tunisia Oasis, 1 in 9 chance of getting Neo Du Plains, 1 in 9 chance of getting Dry Tenental, and 1 in 9 chance of getting Small Oases. And so the reason why I wanted to do plains and also the Savannah map to be a little bit more obvious, so I added the houses for Savannah, is that when you, if, for example, if you play Neo 1v1 map pool in Liga, which I think will be a lot of fun, where you have random starting epochs, you need to adapt to this. You also have, this will choose between different maps, so you'll have to adapt to them. And I think the plains maps were so similar that I wanted to distinguish them more, so it's easier to see. Like if you get this, you would just assume this is Neo Plains. You can figure it out very quickly. Also in Liga, you don't have reveal map on, so you need to scout. So that's another reason why I wanted to be. That's another reason why I wanted it to be more obvious. Here again, you see immediately. Okay, I have houses. That means it's more hunt on the map, so you can adapt quicker. And I think that's more fun. This map right here is the Tunisia Oasis. So again, the map type is 1v1 map pool, so you get random maps. And this map I think is like criminally underplayed. I think this looks so much fun to play. It's an old map. I think it's from 2006 or something like that. Player made by a player called Binary, and so I added that to the pool, to the map pool, because I think it should be really fun. This is part of the map pack that you got in the Neo EE patch. I am blind, apparently. Here it is. And to me, this map is really fun because it's very flat. It's kind of plains-like, but sometimes you get a big ocean like this, and sometimes you get a really small ocean like here. So you need to scout this map. You need to scout the oceans if you want to get a dock for easy access to food, for example. So I think this map could be really fun to play, and that's why I added it to the, even though it's an old map and for whatever reason it's not very popular, I added it to the 1v1 map pool. So again, just to summarize, I hope that the Neo Continental, the Neo Mediterranean, Neo Plains, and Neo Large Islands will be popular substitutes for the original maps. Hopefully they're more fun, leads to less rematches and stuff like this, less people complaining about maps. And the other maps I think are more, I didn't put that much effort and attention to them, but I think they will be fun to kind of mix it up a little bit. So hopefully you guys enjoy. If you have any problems, issues with these maps, please let me know. They should work for everyone. I've tested on many computers now. Uh, Again, I'll just repeat one more time. If you want to play these maps online, everyone in that room, if you're hosting 4 players, all the 4 players need to have installed these maps for it to work online. Or one player will get, the player who doesn't have the right maps will get out of sync. And also, you should not be afraid of doing this because it doesn't change the original maps. You still have the original maps. So these are just an added option.